Today, we're going to check out NECA'S Professor Burke from the Holy Grail of missing media, London After Midnight. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to look at Professor Burke from the lost film London After Midnight. Yes, there was a film made way back, silent film, I have notes here, 1927, Todd Browning silent film that starred his good friend Lon Chaney. Yes, we all know Lon Chaney, Hunchback of Notre Dame, like the shirt I have on. Great actor. And is it a toss-up? Was he a better actor or was he a better makeup artist? I mean, which one was he? He was a special effects guru. He did all his own makeup on all his characters that he played in. Unbelievable stuff for that time. I mean, when we look at this 1927 film and you see some of the makeup that he put on himself, he would put it on himself. Amazing stuff for that time. I mean, if it came out today, it would be amazing. So I know him more as a makeup artist. I watch documentaries about how great he was, but the more research I do on Lon Chaney, the more I found out he was like one of the greatest actors going at that time. I've researched that both his parents were deaf, and that just made him that much of a better actor, because when he was acting, there was no sound. I mean, you could put music into the movie afterwards, but there was no vocals in these movies, so they were called silent films. And that is your Phantom of the Opera, your London After Midnight, which not a lot of people nowadays has seen, and just great stuff. Nosferatu, which we opened. Lon Chaney was not in that, but another example of a silent film. With parents being deaf, it made Lon Chaney that much of a better actor, because he got used to using his facial expressions and body language to talk to his parents. They couldn't hear him. So, I mean, that alone just tells me that he would be a good actor for silent films. He could just emotionally pour out his feelings without saying a word when talking to his parents, and that would make him that great of an actor, if you ask me. Now, like I mentioned, I knew him as a makeup artist. My dad mentioned Lon Chaney all the time. He loved Lon Chaney, and he called him the man of 1,000 faces, and that was a nickname given to him because so many times he changed his look from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo, to the Phantom of the Opera, to this just absolute legend of a character right here, Professor Burke. Now, with all that being said, I've never seen the film. So apparently the film was destroyed in a fire at MGM Studios. So they had all these films locked up in this vault. Well, there was an electrical problem, and all the films, which are highly flammable, caught fire, burnt, gone. Now, I thought, why could there not be at least one copy of this made? You know, like when we get a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I mean, if there was a fire at the vault at Texas Chainsaw, where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre original film was stored, there's millions of copies of that around. There's videotapes, there's DVDs. Now, but think back, that fire happened in, I have it wrote down here, 1965. So in 1965, there was no VCRs, there was no Blu-ray players, there was nothing. So they had the copy. Now, only thing what boggles my mind is that the film had to be distributed to theaters. And it would seem to me that one of those theaters would have a copy. I don't know how that used to work back in the day. Did they send you a film of it and then they air it, show it on their theater, and then send it back? I don't know. But it just seems to me that somewhere out there has to be a copy of London After Midnight. Just has to be. But apparently there's not. And their rumors do swirl. One will pop up, every 3 or 4 years, like, oh, a copy of London After Midnight may have been discovered. But it always pans out that it wasn't. Now, I will say this. If someone has a copy of London After Midnight, I think it's 100 years. After 100 years, the copyright matures and it goes away. So no more copyright. So MGM would not own the rights to London After Midnight in the year 2027. That would be 100 years. Now, I think it is 100 years. Don't quote me on that. If I'm wrong, somebody leave a comment and correct me, please. But so in 2027, if somebody's sitting on a copy of that, they could be purposely sitting on that copy saying, I'm not going to show people that I have a copy of this, because the second I do, MGM's going to swoop in and swipe it away from me because they own the rights to London After Midnight. So if they wait till 2027, they're going to have a lot of money. MGM cannot come after them to get that movie because their rights, their copyrights to that film has expired. So 2027 is going to be a big year for the movie industry to see if this pops up and actually happens. So excited about that. 2027, that's only 2 years away. So can we hold on that long? Not sure. But Todd Browning, the producer and director of London After Midnight, did later on in 1935, I believe, redid London After Midnight. He directed another one. Did he direct it or produce it? I believe he did direct it. 1935. Of course, Lon Chaney wasn't in it, but Bela Lugosi was. Now, Bela Lugosi didn't play Professor Burke. And to be quite honest, when I research about London After Midnight, it is so confusing to even follow the plot. I looked it up. I looked up so many synopses on London After Midnight, and none of it made sense to me. Absolutely none of it. But I did go and watch the remake by Todd Browning, which was called, again, I gotta look this up, I'm sorry, Mark of the Vampire. Todd Browning, and it was a talkie. When I say talkie, I mean there was actual sound. There was vocals. So, of course, we know that from 1931, Dracula. Now, Bela Lugosi does look a lot like Dracula in Mark of the Vampire. But after I watched Mark of the Vampire, I finally got what they were talking about on these small synopses about London After Midnight. It is still a little confusing, and I don't even know if I could tell you exactly. It's more go out, watch Mark of the Vampire. Maybe watch some reviews or watch some people talk about London After Midnight, and you'll scratch your head thinking, now, what the heck is going on? I don't understand. Go watch a Mark of the Vampire, and it'll all come together. Because it is changed a little bit. Professor Burke, they changed the name of the characters, and instead of Professor Burke, there's two detectives coming in to try to solve a case of a guy that was supposedly killed himself, suicide. And they hire Professor Burke. In this movie, London After Midnight, they hire a detective to come and try to solve this case. Well, the case goes cold. They can't figure it out. He said Professor Burke thinks that it was not suicide, but a murder. So 5 years go by, the case becomes cold, and suddenly the guy that actually reported the suicide, heard the gunshot, 5 years later, he lives across the street from where this gentleman that supposedly offed himself lived. So, and he still lives there, and he was kind of the executor of this gentleman's estate. And then he also took on his daughter, who was, her name was Lucille. So this guy lives across the street, hears the gunshot, figures that his friend had shot himself, and phones the police. Like I said, police investigate, consider it possibly a murder, but they can't figure out who murdered him. Case goes closed. 5 years in the future, this old man, the executor of that estate across the street, starts noticing some creepy stuff going on in the old man's house, and it's been empty since he committed suicide. So he's seeing some creepy things going on. He's seeing what they call the man in the beaver hat, and that is what you see right here. That is Professor Burke, the man in the beaver hat. Now, you don't know he is Professor Burke. There is quite a twist on this story, and it's really hard to follow, but this is what he sees in that guy's house and another lady, and he says they're vampires. So this guy right here is a vampire. This action figure going to open up is supposed to be a vampire. So this guy sees that happening, decides that maybe they had something to do with the murder of his friend. So he calls Professor Burke back and says, hey, I think it might have been a murder, and there's some crazy going-ons over at his estate. Nobody's lived in there in 5 years, but I'm seeing people move around, and they look like vampires. So Professor Burke comes back, and it is a long story. And I don't want to ruin it for you, so I'm not even going to say how it goes, but there is a twist in it that is unbelievable, and it's so unbelievable that when you read the reviews on London After Midnight, they're so confusing, I couldn't figure it out. But, like I mentioned, go watch Mark of the Vampire, Bela Lugosi, and it'll all come together. You'll start understanding what they're talking about, because we can't go watch London After Midnight. It's gone now. They did piece together some stills. There were still shots from the movie that were saved, and somebody put together these still shots and tried to recreate the movie. And I did not watch that, but I still think it probably would have been too confusing, because there was no talking, there was no vocals in that short movie. But I believe one day London After Midnight will show up, and I believe it will be 2027 or soon after that. So let's cross our fingers that we get it. Okay, so that was a long setup for this action figure, but I will also mention that I've had this guy in line to unbox for a while now. I was going to unbox him probably around middle of October. Well, I was watching a content creator out there. His name is Ecto Eric. I have his name right up here, Ecto Eric. And I was watching his content on an unboxing of Professor Burke. And it got me so excited that I bumped Professor Burke, NECA'S Professor Burke, to the front of the line. I mean, it was such a good review. So check out Ecto Eric on YouTube. And I believe he has all kinds of social media platforms going. But check him out. Very, very good stuff. Very good stuff. Very nice guy. And I think you'll like it. Ecto Eric. So kudos to you, Ecto Eric, out there for pushing me to do this review sooner than I thought of. All right, here we go. Great movie poster art right here, like we get out of our NECA's. Unbelievable. Again, the flat paint, and then you get that high gloss. And we've got a high gloss right here on London After Midnight, and then this little picture right here. And you got the London Bridge going over. Very good stuff right there. So NECA is, they don't go crazy on these boxes because they don't have to. They're given beautiful, perfect art like our Karloff mummy that he did and Frankenstein. Just use the poster art. Just use that. What better thing to use than that? And we can decorate our houses with these things. I set these up in my living room and my wife loves them. She says, wow, that's really good. I honestly don't think they make poster arts for movies this good anymore. I mean, these were unbelievable. Great stuff. It pops. You can almost feel the story in this picture right here, and it's so good. But yeah, love it, love it, love it. Okay, on this side, we got London After Midnight, NECA, Real Toys. This side, same thing, but a different photograph of our action figure there. Top, London After Midnight, NECA, warning, choking hazards, ages 17 and up. And on the bottom, we have the shout out to our makers and creators of this action figure that work at NECA. Good stuff there. And here we have Cheney Entertainment. So if you see this Cheney Entertainment, that means what happened is NECA went to Lon Chaney's estate and said, we want to give you some money so that we can create the likeness of Mr. Cheney, Lon Chaney, on our action figure. And I'm sure there's negotiating back and forth between lawyers, and finally the Cheney estate must have released it to NECA so that they could make this Professor Burke action figure. So they do take those extra steps, which is awesome. And NECA does, I think they're the best at recreating these characters from old films. All right, on the back side, big London After Midnight, and we're checking out all the ways that we could pose our action figure there. So I am going to go ahead and get him out of here. I'm going to take him from the bottom. So Lon Chaney Sr. was an icon, of course, actor and makeup artist, and was in the Phantom of the Opera, like I mentioned, and different things. But Todd Browning, the director, I forgot to do this. I do this all with all my NECAs because I keep all my packaging. Every one of them I've kept so far. I don't know if there's going to come a time where I'm going to end up having to throw some away, or at least some of them just have a blister on it. Maybe just throw the blister away and keep the card back. But so much time and energy is spent on these packages that I love them, and I hate to throw them away. They're like works of art. But yeah, Lon Chaney, unbelievable. Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and such a great, great actor. And let's see, we do have a scene in here, so that is empty there. We'll set that to the side. And our scene is kind of a foggy, looks like London scene right there. Maybe kind of looks like a scene from Jack the Ripper or something. Kind of creepy, foggy, concrete. That's how I picture London, just like Jack the Ripper. And here he is in his plastic coffin. And look at this. Now, this is a lot different packaging than what we're used to. He has a couple layers going on here, so not sure how to get into this. Let's see. Is it taped? I don't know if it's taped. No, I don't think it is. We're just going to have to work this top piece off. So there's the top piece. Awesome. Holds this in. For those mint on card collectors, this is a lifesaver. This thing is never going to come unstowed on your shelf. You could probably knock him off your shelf, and I don't think anything's going to pop out with this extra on here. So NECA goes above and beyond for mint on card collectors and out of box collectors too. So there's one layer off. Now we get, I I've lost a hand. Looks like I've lost a couple hands here. All right, hands are back. I got my hands back. I dropped them right on the floor. Yeah, we'll have to be careful trying to show that off. But yeah, now that clear plastic is off, you can see that. And let's check out these accessories. The first accessory we're going to look at is a lamp. So he must carry that around. Maybe in that castle, he's carrying that around, and that neighbor sees them vampires moving around in the estate of that old man that committed suicide. So there's a lamp. And then we have this. It looks like a little cape to go around his neck. It'll pop on. Kind of reminds me of the Dracula cape that our NECA Dracula came with. Just kind of pops on there. So we'll have to try that on him. And then we get hands. So we get 2 right hands here. And one right hand looks like maybe to carry the lamp right here. And the other right hand is kind of a pointy finger. Kind of pointing. Or maybe he's saying somebody's a loser. So there's 2 right hands. And then we get 1 extra left hand. And another point right there. Kind of gripping, pointy finger. So we'll set that there. Next, I'm going to have to take this another layer off. Because right here we have this awesome looking like bat membrane. And I have seen still photos of Professor Burke or the man in the beaver hat wearing this, and it looks really creepy in the movie. So I'm going to cut this out. Let's see what happens. Now, in Mark of the Vampire, which Todd Browning directed, he mentions that they are vampires, absolutely vampires. So Professor Burke, I'm imagining, is a vampire too. Nothing there, empty. So here we go. There's that membrane, and that is very, very rubbery. I mean, absolute rubber. I'm trying to think of what this, what can we, it's very sticky too. It's almost like if you, I don't know. It's just a rubber membrane. I don't know what to compare that to. But it looks like you're going to take your hands off, put that on, take your hand off, put that on, take the head off, slide that on, put them back on, and that's going to hold that together. That's what it looks like to me. But, man, that is really, really rubbery. That's 100% rubber right there. So, there he is. That looks like a bat wing membrane. Next, we've got Professor Burke face here. Now, he's got a big smile there. And jagged teeth. You can see red in there. His mouth is red. He's got his hair hanging down. He's got the big comb over going on. Kind of a, is that purple or violet skin? Now, remember, this was a black and white film, obviously. I mean, it was a silent film, so it had to be black and white because audio, vocalization in movies, and color wasn't invented yet. Now we have another one, and I'm looking at these two, and they actually look almost the same. Now I'm looking, this one, he's kind of just sitting there. Now, this one, look at his eyes. Look at his eyes in this one right here. Wide open eyes. So that's our difference there. The smile's pretty much the same, but looks really good. So kind of relaxed and then surprised or angry or face there. All right, now let's get Professor Burke out. I'm so excited about this. Ooh, he's not in there at all hardly. So that plastic cover over top helped. And here he is. Here he is. I'm going to keep this hat on. Here he is. Professor Burke has been resurrected. Check it out. Nothing else in here but our little gel pack. We'll set that to the side. Professor Burke. Let's go through articulation. I'm going to take his hat off to go through articulation. Head. Not looking up a whole lot. He does have this longer hair and this cape back here, so that might be stopping it a little bit. But yeah, not looking up. Looks down better than he looks up. Head tilt left, tilt left and right. Head will go all the way around. Of course, let's see how it pops off, just like all of our other NECAs. Lately, our NECAs have been really, really good. I will mention that some of the older ones were a little tougher to get off, but man, they have learned from their mistakes. I'm telling you, NECA is unbelievable. Unbelievable company. So yeah, back to him. Great movement on the head. All right, let's see if we can get this off so we can go through articulation. Now, I believe you could probably even take that off, but we're not going to. We're going to leave that on for now. Arm all the way around. He does have the single butterfly joint in there. It's not like our G.I. Joes with that double butterfly, but we don't need that, you know, not on this. He has single jointed elbows, pinless, and we have rotation on that arm, so he can do his Nolan Ryan and throw a pitch there. He has wrists that go all the way around. They go up and they go down. No left or right there. Of course, these hands are removable and pretty good. Snaps in and out of there really nice. He has, let's see, is there an ab crunch? I can't tell. I think there might be, but like our not a fan of the opera, but like our Frankenstein and our Invisible Man, he has this jacket on right there. And it's not sculpted on, but you can't get it off. It is like glued shut or whatever. So that's not coming off. And again, this outer coat is not sculpted on, so man, they do such a good job with these. Back to articulation, we have splits. With this coat on, not going to do a lot of splits and not doing a lot of straddles neither, but that's okay. That's okay. We don't need Professor Burke to do all that. And let's see. Oh, I forgot to mention, we have a hula hoop waist, and it does rotate. The waist rotates around. Our upper leg will rotate on that ball joint. And then we have a knee. Are we at a 90? I think that's a 90-degree angle right there on his knee, so that's good. And that'll swing out and in. So you can pose him a lot of different ways with that. He has an ankle rocker, broken leg. Look at that, broken leg in London, or broken ankle in London. And then he can he pirouette? Oh man, just slightly. Lon Chaney can pirouette. That is articulation. And let's check this out. So, face sculpt here. Let me hold these up. Okay, I'm seeing a big difference here now. Subtle differences, but big differences when you pay attention. So the head out of the box is kind of looking straight on or down a little bit. Straight on or down a little bit. His mouth's open and maybe his jaw's a little bit to the side. And on this one, his jaw's not open as much and his eyes are kind of looking up. So there's subtle differences. The hair looks exactly the same. All three of these, the hair's exactly the same. But there's very subtle differences. In this, the other one, he kind of looked a little sleepy. I'm going to call it sleepy. So I would say I probably like this sculpt the best. This face sculpt the best. His eyes are wide open. He's got this menacing smile, and his eyes are looking right at us, maybe a little downwards, but very, very creepy looking. And to think that this makeup was made in 1927 is unbelievable. How did he get his jaw out like that? If you've seen look up pictures of Lon Chaney, he looks nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that. So him to do this on himself, he don't have somebody. He don't have a Jack Pierce like Boris Karloff had, where he could sit down and Jack Pierce put the makeup on. He's doing it himself. He puts it on himself. I'm sure he spends hours and hours in the mirror. Oh, and I think that could make you that much better because you know what you're looking for, and you can put a little makeup on, move your mouth certain ways. So, Lon Chaney, wow, what a legend. The more I talk about him, the more and more and more he becomes a legend. My goodness, to think about all this. It blows my mind. I'm sorry I'm going off on these tangents, but it just blows my mind how good this stuff looks. All right, it has a tie right here. White tie under with a white button-up shirt, collars hanging out on that. And then he has this, maybe it's a vest right here or a jacket. And then he has this outer jacket. So he's got 3 or 4 layers of shirt on. He's got black pants. Very nice shoes, really good detailed shoes. The back, we got, look at this. The wrinkles on there look so good. Our hands have veins and you can see tendons, fingernails. Sheesh. NECA. My gosh. We can see his ears sticking out of his hair. And now let's get the hat on. The beaver hat. The man in the beaver hat is how they talk about him. Now look at that. How creepy is that? Golly, that looks so good. And when he says a beaver hat, I imagine he just had this top hat and it's made out of beaver fur is what it is. Beaver hide. Now we have this kind of shawl, or I don't know what you'd call it, that can go over this top coat, go over top of him. Now look at him. Now when you put that on, that is absolutely going to stop your hand, or your arm articulation. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot with the arms. You can do slight things like just bring them forward, but you're not going to bring those arms out if you put this top coat on. Then this is a hard, rubbery, it's not rubber like this one, not at all like this one, but it is a hard, very pliable plastic, very nicely made, very thick too. So you have that, and then we get this cape. So you can put that, and now if you put this on, it's almost the same effect as that. Yeah, look at that. I think this, if you wore this in the 1920s, you would look very, very wealthy, I would think. But looks good. Now, if you put this one on, you can absolutely move his arms out and in different ways, because that is a soft, good shirt. And the collar is kind of plastic, and it's kind of horseshoe shape, and it just snaps right onto his neck, and it's staying on there really well. Man, I'm loving this. I think this might take the #1 away from our other figures we've opened. I have, like I mentioned, a soft spot for my Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface, because he was the first one. He's the one that started all this mess here, is that Texas Chainsaw Massacre figure right there. And I think this one has jumped to #1, even above our Frankenstein. And I really like our Mummy there, but this is unbelievable. It makes you that much more want to see this movie, I'm telling you. Hopefully, like I said, in 2027, they'll probably, copies of that will probably be falling out of the woodwork when people, they know that they can release this without MGM coming for them and taking their film or suing them and making them destroy it or taking possession of it. But, yeah. Hopefully we get that. I think we will. I really do. I mean, if I had a copy of London After Midnight, maybe your dad was a theater owner or something, and I think you would be a historian of movies, and I think you would probably go get a lawyer and say, hey, I have a copy of London After Midnight. And it's kind of like winning the lottery. That lawyer, if he's any good at all, he's going to say, do not say a word about owning that copy of London After Midnight. Now, the copyright ends in 2 years, 2.5, 3 years, 2027. Let's bring it out then, sell it for $4 million, whatever you want to do. Now, it seems like they would come out on the black market, but I don't know. I would definitely sit on mine. I would definitely get a lawyer and say, look what I have. This was my great-great-grandpa's copy of London After Midnight. And they would say, oh my God, that's the holy grail of missing videos. Don't say a word until that copyright expires. So yeah, that's the soft goods shirt. Let's pull that off. Now, I really want to try to do this bat wing membrane here. So to do it, we're going to have to pop the head off. We'll start there. I don't know if it'd be easier to do the hands or the head first, but I'm going to try the head first. I'm going to put this ring around there. Now I'm going to pop that head back on. Try not to mess up that ring, because this ring is even rubbery. It's same exact material as the membrane itself. Been nice if that was a hard ring. Now we have the neck on. Now let's see if I can get the hands on. So we'll take both hands off. I'm going to try to do this so you can see. So we'll put both our arms up. And then we'll take this ring. We're just going to, I don't think it'll go around, but it will set right on his jacket cuff right there. We'll take our hand. This membrane right here, there's one hand, and we'll pop this other one in. I'm thinking this rubber membrane in 20 years from now may be a missing piece because nobody has them left because they tear up or rings fall off. So if you can keep your bat wing membrane 100%, you might be in some money in 20 years from now. But there it is. His membrane is on. Let's move his hands. I would think that's how he's going to pose, have these hands up to spread that wing out. Look at that. Look at that. How creepy. Let's get the hat on. And another thing, during my research, I found out that if you've ever seen the movie, I think it's this is 2024, so in 2014 maybe, a movie called The Babadook was released. I think it was an Australian film. But The Babadook was released, and the movie The Babadook was not based on anything about London After Midnight, but I have read that the creators of that movie took Professor Burke's likeness, took the likeness of Professor Burke, and that's what they used to create Mr. Babadook in the movie The Babadook. Very, very, very creepy movie, The Babadook is. Highly recommended. But anyways, let's go ahead. I want to take this off. I want to try some of these other heads out. So we're going to take this membrane off. I don't know if I'll ever put this membrane back on. I'm afraid I'm going to break those rings. They're just really same material, really, as this rubber membrane. So that may be valuable one day. You might pull out your Professor Burke action figure in 20 years from now, and somebody say, oh my gosh, do you still have the bat wing membrane? Yes, I do. It's right here. And my rings are still good. Possibilities. All right. So we took that head off. Now let's put on this head that's kind of looking up a little bit. He's kind of, same kind of, mouth's a little bit more closed, and his eyes are kind of looking up though on this one. And then we'll change our hands because I want to have him hold this lantern right here. Now in the movie, there was supposedly a woman, too, a female vampire in this house. So I'm wondering if they'll ever make her. Now, we don't know because we don't have the film, and there's not a lot written on it, if she had a name. But it would be kind of cool to see NECA create that female vampire as well. Now, once you watch that movie, there's a super, super twist, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, so do watch Mark of the Vampire. So here he comes. Look at that. So what a creep. Professor Burke. Now also, Professor Burke he worked for Scotland Yard, so he also had not a vampire look about him. He looked like a vampire in some of the movie, and I'm trying not to give this stuff away, but also he was a regular detective, so he wasn't solving cases looking like that. But look at that, that looks great. He's kind of pointing at something there. Now let's try, we're going to take this one off. We're going to put the lantern in this hand because I want to put this loser hand right here. Yeah, he's telling somebody, you know, you're a loser. Check that out. Kind of pointing. Carrying his lantern. Awesome stuff. I'm so excited about this. If you can't tell, I'm super excited about this. And I can't wait to take these, some still shots of this. All the ways we can set this guy up. Gosh, looks so good. Shoes look good. Pants look good. Everything look good. Now let's try this kind of tired Professor Burke head sculpt right here. Big smile still. All three of them have the big smile. Now this one though, he does look very tired. I would say. So maybe we'll put his head over one side. Check that out. Very tired Professor Burke. You've been working hard. Oh, you put that hat on there. That just blows me away. Blows me away. Whew. Again, shout out to Ecto Eric up there for inspiring me to bump this guy up to the front of the line on my unpackaging and reviewing. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Let's get Nosferatu, another vampire, out right here. Put these guys together. Check that out. Oh my God. 2 silent films. One we can watch. But controversy to both of these films. Big controversy to both of these films. Oh my God. Unbelievable stuff. How did they come up with these designs? These makeup artists. Unbelievable. Love it. NECA. Oh my gosh, NECA, you have outdone yourself again. They get better and better every time. So that's going to be it. Let's time warp to 2027 and see if this London After Midnight film pops up all over the place, because I want to watch this now. I really want to watch it now. But that's going to be it. Thanks a ton for watching. Subscribe, please, if you haven't. It helps the channel out tremendously. Like the video. Leave a comment. Tell me if there's anything you know about London After Midnight. Do you have a copy out there? Do you have a copy of it? Sit on that copy till 2027. Find out when that copyright date expires, because you're going to be very, very, very wealthy one day. But that's it. Thanks again for watching. For Professor Burke and London After Midnight, until next time, oh yeah.